very happy to introduce to you Rev Dr Roger Juline. He has been with Science of Mind for many years, and he is now going to be a part of the Wise Sage project put on by the Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation. We are very pleased to have you with us, Roger. And so we're going to just ask you a couple of questions and let you take over. So tell us about your early life and how you became part of the Science of Mind organization. Begin and tell us about your life and your siblings and your history. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, I've written up a little memoir booklet that I put together for our grandkids about my early life, which I don't think you want me to read because it's probably about 70 pages, so I'll let that go. But basically, I grew up in Pasadena, California, and had a background in the Catholic Church. My mom was Catholic, and she raised all three of us kids as Catholics. And when I finished elementary school, interestingly enough, I went off to a Catholic seminary for high school. That seminary was down near Compton, California, in an area that's now called Dominguez. And the Dominguez Rancho is still there, and it's a state historical monument. And that's where I went to high school. Subsequently, I spent a year in downtown Los Angeles, and then 4 years of college out in Calabasas at a place that used to be the home of the King Gillette, the safety razor guy, and Clarence Brown, the movie producer. Subsequent to that, the order that I was with, the Claretian order, asked me if I wanted to go to Rome, Italy to study theology. And of course, I jumped at the chance and went to Rome and was there for a period of 2 years. I decided during that time that this life was not for me and that I needed to leave and to find another path. So I left after 2 years, although the experience there in Rome was a fascinating experience, and it was exciting and very educational from many standpoints. But I figured that the life was not for me, so I came back to what I call civilian life, and took up a career in the banking business. I got into banking because basically I was looking for a job, and my folks knew a bank manager, and so I went to work at this bank and progressed fairly rapidly and decided that this is really what I enjoy doing. I enjoy dealing with business, and it was quite a bit different than the academic life that I had been used to, and so I stuck with it for a period of probably 30 some years. At the same time, I had an avocation of playing the organ and music. I had picked this up when I was in the seminary, and I continued to do that when I was out of the seminary and like I say, leading a regular life. I played the organ for a couple that had several churches in Pasadena, and they called me one day and asked me if I was interested in a temporary job for a church that had a need of an organist on Sunday. And I said, yeah, I would be interested. And I asked them what church it was, and they said, well, they said you probably never heard of this church, but it's a very nice church and has some wonderful people. Well, it turned out it was the Pasadena Church of Religious Science. And I went there, auditioned, and got the job. And a temporary assignment ended up lasting 3 years. During that period of time, when I was playing the organ there, I also met my wife, who was a member there, and Kathy and I subsequently got married, and each of us brought 2 kids to the wedding, so to speak, and we got involved in the Science of Mind from that point. Took classes there at the Pasadena Center, and I decided to go on and become a practitioner at that time. Jack Deaton was the minister there, and I really enjoyed his classes, and so I went on and became a practitioner with him. At the same time that all this was going on, there was a request from the headquarters for people that had business backgrounds to serve on a board of directors for the Science of Mind Foundation. Bill Lynn, who was running that foundation at that time, needed a board that was composed of business people or people that had business experience, as well as new science of mind. And the senior minister at our church, Jack Deaton, asked if he could recommend me. I told him to go ahead, and that's how I got involved in working at the headquarters. This was a volunteer position. We met, oh gosh, I guess 3 or 4 times a year, and reviewed the financial statements and gave advice as to various investment policies and other operational issues that affected the foundation. So because of that, I got quite involved with the organization and with the running of the organization and with the people that were running the organization. And as most of you probably know, the organization went through quite a few changes during the late 80s and early 90s in terms of physical changes, in terms of building a new building, and in terms of changeover of staff. And I was kind of there helping out and doing some things to assist during that period of time. And it was during that period of time that I decided that I was going to become a minister. And so I went to ministerial school starting in, I think it was in 93 or 94, and went through what it was at that time called the Holmes, what was it called? The Holmes?
Ernest Holmes College, maybe?
Ernest Holmes College, yes, Ernest Holmes College. And it was there at Founders. And it was a very exciting, interesting experience, some very interesting professors, and I was very grateful that I had the opportunity. So that's how I got into ministry, and that's a real quick summation of my life up to that point. And it's been exciting and been a lot of changes in the organization, and hopefully I've tried to be a positive influence during that period of time.
Where did you get your first letter of call? Was that with Christina Collins?
Yes. While I was in ministerial school, Chris Collins became the senior minister at the Covina Church. And I had known her from when she was interning at Pasadena. And she called me and asked me if I'd like to come out there and work with her. It was a rebuilding situation because they'd been without a minister for a couple of years. And I said, sure. I thought that would be a very wonderful thing to do. And so I went out there as a ministerial student, worked for a couple of years. I was able to teach some classes and do some other work. And then when I graduated from the ministerial school, the congregation very graciously, or the board very graciously, offered me a letter of call. And so I accepted it. And so my first letter of call was there with the Covina Church as their assistant minister. And actually, during all the other activities that I got involved with, I remained as the assistant minister there for about 10 years, working with Chris, teaching classes, doing some of the speaking on Sundays, some of the services, and basically helping out in whatever ways that I could do it.
Okay, so were you still involved with working with the headquarters during this time, and were you still involved working with the bank at this time?
Well, when I graduated from the Ernest Holmes College, I had already told my banking superiors that I was going to be leaving or quitting or retiring, whatever word you want to use. They begged me to stay. They thought it'd be wonderful if I could just come in a couple of days a week and kind of just help out. And I said, no, I really wanted to be in ministry full time. But I was meeting with some of the people downtown on occasion for various things. And during one of these meetings, they were looking for someone to head up the Holmes Institute, which was the new program that they had established, which was a master's degree level program for people seeking ministry within the United Church. Bob Gale and Lloyd Tupper interviewed me for that job and thought I was the right guy. I indicated to them that I did not have a PhD or anything in education, and they said, "Oh, we don't need PhDs. We've got plenty of PhDs. We need somebody who can organize the operation and who can take us forward to getting accredited. And we feel that you can do that because you've dealt with bank examiners and people that come in and look over your operation, and that's what they needed and wanted." So I accepted that job, and actually held it for 6 years. So I was president of the Holmes Institute for 6 years, as well as assisting at the Covina Church for a period of time. The primary purpose of working with the Holmes Institute was to get the program, the master's level program, accredited. And for anybody that knows what accreditation involves, it's like climbing a huge mountain, a mountain of primarily of paperwork, mainly. But it required doing a lot of work to standardize our course materials, to make sure that all the students were being properly interviewed and accepted in the proper way, that they had the proper credentials, that all the instructors had the proper credentials, and so on. And it required a lot of work, and over a period of 3 or 4 years, we had several visits, site visits by the accrediting agency. And at the end of that period, we were granted accreditation, which I was very proud to have been a part of and to have kind of led the charge of on this thing, because this was a major feather in our cap. We were and I still are, I think, the only New Thought organization that has an accredited graduate level program available for people that want to seek ministry. So I'm very proud to have been a part of that. And that took me up into the middle 2000s, at which point I decided that it was time to basically scale back. And so I left. I retired from the job at headquarters, although I continued to help out at the Covina Church for the next few years.
Okay. You were also, I don't know if it was during that time, also part of the pension program for United Church. You served on that committee. And then also, were you part of the integration process? If so, to what extent and what and how, in what way?
Well, just going back to the first thing, I was part of and actually chair of the retirement program, which included a retirement fund for employees as well as ministers, and that occurred in the late 1990s and lasted approximately up until the time that we made the decision to dissolve the plan. I also felt very fortunate and blessed to serve on the committee for integration. This thing started out as a series of meetings that Reverend Christian really invited me to come to, which included at that point people from Unity, from Emerson Institute, RSI, United, and we met pretty regularly for, I would say, several years before we really came to the decision that the best path for us was for the two religious science organizations to in a sense merge or integrate. That was the term that we were going to use. And I was blessed to be a part of that and to help with that process as it moved along. And of course, as we all know, it has moved along and become very successful. And I'm very grateful that we've had the people to support that and to make sure that it is continuing to work.
Okay, thank you. Do you recall any specific teachers that were outstanding in your training as ministerial student?
Yes, I do. One of my first teachers I guess going back, I have to give a lot of credit to Jack Deaton in Pasadena Church, because he gave me my first religious science orientation and training, and he was a lovely man, and it was a pleasure to be in his presence. In addition to Jack, when I got into the ministerial school, I had classes with Fletcher Harding, who was a name that goes back quite a ways in religious science history. And Marilyn's book about the history of religious science chronicles, Fletcher is mentioned in there back in the 1950s. And he brought quite a bit of interesting anecdotes, humor, insights into the class. The other professor that I have that I can recall with much fondness was a man named Paul Barrett. Paul Barrett taught scripture. He taught metaphysical Bible, as we called it. And I enjoyed his class so much that I took the same class, I think, 3 or 4 times from him. He was just a wonderful guy. He would sit down and he would just start talking. No notes. He would just start talking, and it was like, I don't know, sitting at the feet of a guru and just listening, and you just felt like you were in some exalted presence, really. And you barely didn't even want to ask a question, because he just went on and on about all these biblical references and things that he knew. He was basically filled to the brim with Bible knowledge. Another favorite Bible instructor that I had that turned me on to several other Bible books was I've forgotten his name now. He just passed away. Marilyn, you knew him. Out there in Camarillo.
Bill Curtis.
William Curtis. William Curtis is also another wonderful Bible instructor. As you probably have realized by now, I've been drawn to the Bible quite a bit, and William was a great instructor, a great influence, and I was thrilled when they asked me to do some classes at Asilomar in later years, classes that William Curtis had done in prior years. And I just thought he was a great instructor and just a wonderful man. So I think those are probably the main instructors that I can think of that had the most influence on me personally.
Now, I know that you taught classes at Holmes Institute. And you taught, what did you teach? Basically, business end of.
Well, I taught at Holmes Institute for 15 years, and I taught a course called Church Financial Management, which is a course that I designed at the request of the deans, who felt that the students that were coming into the school and graduating with very little knowledge of basic finance and basic management. So we designed a course to kind of deal with that, and I taught that at many places, at Agape, at Seaside, up north in Oakland, in Seattle. Anyway, I taught that for a number of years. I've also taught Historical Foundations of New Thought, which is like a course about the history of New Thought. and how it came to be the way it is. And I've also taught metaphysical Bible, both for Holmes Institute and also for the local churches that I've served in. So I've been very blessed. I've really enjoyed teaching, and I think the students that I've had, I think have gotten some benefit from the experience also.
A few years ago, you received an honorary, was it Doctor of Divinity?
Yes, yes. I received a Doctorate of Divinity, I think it was in 2000, I'm not even sure what year it was now, 2009, from the organization, and I feel very honored to have been given that award, and feel very blessed.
Have you ever been active in any outside ecumenical or interfaith groups or religious organizations during your time with Science of Mind?
Not officially. I've been to many interfaith meetings, breakfasts, and just various meetings where you've got various people from other faiths and denominations. But I've never had any official capacity in any of these organizations. I think that's wonderful work, and I certainly support anybody that can do it and gets and has the time for it. But I have not been able to do that.
Okay. Would you share with us perhaps some of your spiritual practice? I know you take long walks on the beach and that. Do you have other regular practices that you do?
Yes, I do. I guess starting off, just going through the day, in the morning, I try to read the daily guide, actually, from the Science of Mind magazine, which this month, this is the month of July of 2018, written by Linda Potter, and she does a wonderful job, I think. She's a practitioner in Denver, and she does a wonderful job. I've had the honor of writing those daily guides several times myself, and my wife, of course, is a writer for the magazine, and she's done a lot of writing for the magazine. But I started out by doing that, and by essentially meditating on that daily guide. My wife and I have also started a joint spiritual practice, which we try to do at the beginning of the day or as soon as we can, of going through the textbook on a program that Edward Villian set up, which is to basically go through the textbook in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got references to various sections, and you kind of jump around a little bit, but it gives you a chance to review the teaching. And we read the passage and then kind of just talk about it a little bit. And then we usually read the meditation in the book called 365 Science of Mind, which are a series of meditations that Ernest Holmes wrote, and it covers the entire year. So we usually read that.
Mm-hmm.
Then later in the day, as you mentioned, we usually take a walk on the beach, which I feel is kind of like a spiritual practice in itself.
It is.
Toward sunset, and it's a very rejuvenating thing. There's a beautiful beach walk here in San Clemente that goes about a mile from this one beach place that we start, and goes down to the pier and back. And it's a wonderful opportunity to be in nature, to see the impact of the beauty of the waves and nature and everything, and to feel God's presence, really.
Okay. What impact do you believe religious science and the science of mind have had in the world?
Excuse me, I'm going to let that phone ring off here. I thought it was going to ring off. Just a second. Sorry about that.
All right.
But fortunately, this computer is set up right next to the phone.
Good morning, Roger. This is Sam. I'm calling from.
You might want to put you on mute.
Hello, yes, I'm on a Zoom call right now. Can I call you back?
So you were saying, let's see, I asked you about science of mind in the world and how you think that's been influenced. How have we influenced the world? Is that what I asked you? Yeah.
I think so. Yes, yes, yes. Well, that's a very good question, and actually, my sense of this is that a lot of the basic ideas of science of mind, namely the way mind works, the way the creative process and so on, have those ideas have gotten out into the mainstream. You find those ideas in management seminars, secular management seminars, have nothing to do with religion or church or spirituality. So in a sense, I think what Ernest thought or said about this becoming the spiritual impulsion, it's certainly become the impulsion of a lot of the work that is being done with businesses, with athletes, with others. How much of the spiritual impulsion is probably a good question. I'm not sure how much we as an organization have actually grown. I do think that we are graduating some very fine people, and it's going to take, I think, several years for them to get into the system and to generate more people. But I know that this teaching is a life-affirming, blessed event for anybody that comes into it. I mean, we've all seen so many people that have left that mind-numbing experience of traditional religion and found an opening, freedom to practice, to be all that they can be. And I think that's what we're about. And I think that if we stick to our principles and really stick to what science of mind is all about, and not get carried away with a lot of other teachings and other types of spiritual modalities, so to speak. I think we can spread this teaching more, but it's going to take a focus in the leadership and in the organization, I think, to do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but that's my thoughts about it.
Yes, and it answers the next question too, as to what you see the future of science of mind and new thought. And I think you've pretty well answered that also at the same time. Do you have anything else along those lines to add to that?
No, I think the future of the teaching is of course in the people, and I think we've got some excellent folks that have been graduated recently that have become ministers, and from some of the writing that I've seen in the magazine, they're bringing in new ideas and new writings and new ways of expressing things, and that's all positive, and I certainly salute that. I just want to make sure that we really stick to our basic teaching and not get carried away with, you might say, the winds of the latest fanciful idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What words of wisdom would you like to ensure are recorded as the legacy you leave to the world?
I guess the thing that I would like to leave is that I have done my best to try to help the organization and individuals to achieve their highest potential, because that's really what all of us are trying to do, is to grow and to become all that we're meant to be. So I guess if I have any legacy at all, it would be a legacy of trying to help others achieve that potential within themselves, both in knowledge and in character building, and in the way that they react to life. Because essentially, how they react to life is going to determine how they live, and how they get through various things that happen to them. So I would like to see them. I would like to see them be able to take this teaching and move it forward from where it is now.
Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Leo. I am the founder of the Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation. I trust that you have enjoyed this interview, which is part of the Wise Sage project of the archives. It is a gift of love, as is the foundation itself, and depends entirely on your generosity. We appreciate your donation in support of the preservation and availability of our science and mind history.